Welcome back. The world's largest defense contractor, Lockheed Martin, reporting better than expected earnings moments ago. While the stock is up 6%, the company also announced a plan to quadruple production on its anti-ballistic missile defense system, known as THAAD. The company breaking ground on a new munitions acceleration center in Arkansas to meet surging defense demand, on the heels of a landmark 7-year agreement with the Department of War to more than triple the PAC-3 MSE missile output to about 2,000 interceptors a year. The stock is up about 40% just in the last 6 months. Joining me now is the CEO of Lockheed Martin, Jim Taiclet. Jim, great to have you. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning, Maria, and welcome to Camden, Arkansas.
Yeah, I can see you're at the plant right now. What do you want to say about the THAAD production?
Well, that's a really important defensive weapon for our country and for our allies. THAAD can intercept high-speed ballistic missiles at intermediate long ranges and destroy them and protect our people. So we're very, very committed and excited to quadruple production from about 96 a year to 400 a year. And we'll be doing that over the next 3 years.
Well, that is really exciting, and certainly at a moment in time when most people are expecting you to have a big role in the president's Golden Dome that he's planning to protect the U.S. from potential missiles. Let me ask you about the F-35, which is so important for the company. What is it, 27% or 30% of revenue? Jim, tell us what your expectation is for the delivery of F-35s in 2026 and 25.
For 2025, we delivered a record 191 aircraft to the U.S. and our allies. We'll probably be around 156 plus or minus this coming year, based on our supply chain steadiness that we have built around the program. And on top of that, we're working with the U.S. government and the Department of War to modernize this jet so it can stay even further ahead of any possible competitive aircraft in the world. So. Yeah. We're working on sustainment as well. We want to have this jet up flying more and more hours every year, and therefore we're going to put $1 billion of our own money into the sustainment of the aircraft to make sure that the readiness rate's where we all want it.
Well, I know President Trump is very happy about that. I'd like to get your take on the Department of War's new acquisition strategy and how they've been allocating capital. And, of course, you announced a buyback this quarter, and I want to get your take on that because I'm not sure what President Trump is going to say about that. He's had real opinions about how the defense companies should be spending their money. I asked him about that when I was in Davos last week. Listen to what the president told me last week on that. Watch this. I want to turn to the economy, Mr. President, because when I first interviewed you, when you first came back, it was about a month after the inauguration for your second term, I asked you, Mr. President, what do you want the economy to look like in 4 years? And you were very clear. You said, I want the private sector to rule the day. And since then, in the last year, you've taken a 10% stake in Intel. You've taken a stake in MP, Mountain Pass. You told the defense companies 2 weeks ago, don't pay any dividends, don't do buybacks until you produce the weapons that we need. So please explain to our audience, how is that free market capitalism?
Well, it's very free market. We have defense companies that were making a fortune. They were buying back stock with all their money, and then they come to us for money if they want to, we want to buy something or we want to have plants built, and they'd say, could you loan us the money? And they'd be doing tens of billions of dollars of stock buybacks, so I'm not letting them do it. I want them to put money into, we have the best equipment in the world, the Patriots, the Tomahawks, the F-35s, all of our equipment's the best. Other countries want it. And we want it. We need more. It takes too long to get it. I said, we're not going to do that anymore. So also, they were making tremendous amounts of money. I mean, $25, $50, $37 million a year. That's a lot of money. That's almost as much as you make. You work harder.
Not.
You work harder than them. No, but, they were making, I asked one of the gentlemen, what are you making? Sir, I make $24 million a year. How come it takes me 5 years to get your particular thing that they make, right? So I put a cap on that for a period of time. I said, you have to build more plants. When we need Tomahawks, I want them within 24 hours. When we need any kind of a Patriot or whatever I want to have it quickly. I don't want to be waiting 3 years for it. What kind of a thing is that? And you make all this money. And I'm prohibiting them from doing stock buyback. And they haven't even complained about it.
Well, so free market capitalism, unless it's a national security issue?
Look, it's free market. It's stupid market letting that take. Why would I let them do stock buybacks and we give them, the businesses from us? So I want to buy. And interestingly, their stocks went up because we raised the budgets. You know, our budgets are higher. We're going to buy more military equipment. We have to. In this world, we have to. We have the strongest military. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We have the strongest military we've ever had. And we're going to keep it that way. And you get a little glimpse of that with Iran nuclear, but you got a really very current glimpse from 2 weeks ago with Venezuela.
Yeah.
We have the smartest, we have the strongest, we have the best equipment. You know, they had a lot of anti-aircraft stuff that didn't exactly work too well.
So, Jim, that's what the president said about all of that. Your reaction, and why does it take so long to meet the surging demand, sir?
So, Maria, to be very clear, we did not announce a future buyback of shares in our earnings release. We merely reported previous buybacks that had happened in the past. We heard President Trump's guidance loud and clear. And so, therefore, we are going to take a step function increase this year, and you'll see it in our guidance. In 2025, we invested $3.6 billion at Lockheed Martin in capital expenses and independent R&D. We're taking a step function increase in that in 2026 to $5 billion. 35% increase in our internal investment to heed the call of President Trump and to transition a priority to internal growth, internal investment to support the War Department in its goals. That's Lockheed Martin's strategy. We'll maintain our dynamic capital allocation, our disciplined capital allocation process, but our emphasis is on internal investment to meet the department's needs. And we heard the president loud and clear, and that's how we're moving out.
That is wonderful. What are your thoughts in terms of meeting the demand that we are seeing out there? The president was very clear that we can't actually make armaments fast enough to meet what's going on in the backdrop. China on the march, Russia on the march. What can you tell us?
So we at our company have been advocating for a change in the business model between the Defense Department then and industry writ large. And we want to invest more in industry. We want to scale faster. And we've been advocating this as a company for years. What's come in with Secretary Hegseth's transformational strategy for acquisition is opening the door to all of that. So on these agreements that you referenced, the Patriot missile, which is where we make it right here in Camden, Arkansas. You can see the robots behind me, state-of-the-art investments we're making. We wanted to do that. We've been doing it with our own money. We've put $2 billion into equipment like this over the last few years just for these defensive munitions. We're going to bump that up. We're going to invest another number of millions and billions even over the next 3 years and really turbocharge this investment. We will be able to hit those delivery targets. In the next few years, we're going to go, as you said, 600 Patriots a year to 2,000, 96 THAADs a year to 400. We are taking this incredibly seriously. We've got a dedicated workforce, and we're breaking ground today, a little bit later this morning, on a brand new factory facility on this site right down the road, where we will have more of this kind of equipment. And importantly, we'll be training our new workforce there. We're going to hire thousands of people across many states, including Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, Texas, and others, to answer this call and make these defensive weapons for our country.
Jim, that is so exciting. And all patriots thank you across the country. You know that. What are your thoughts on the president saying he wants a $1.5 trillion defense budget in 2027? Look, we don't know if this will pass Congress, but what does that mean for Lockheed Martin?
Well, what it means is we will be able to invest even more because we'll get more and more of these long-term agreements. It's unprecedented, and I think it's the first major weapons system in decades where there was a commercial agreement between the U.S. government and a major defense contractor like Lockheed Martin. That 7-year agreement opened up our ability to invest quickly right up front, know that the demand was going to be there, the commitment by the government to have that demand, and act more like a commercial business, and we can access our own cash flow more effectively. We can even go out to the capital markets if we need to. with a competitive offer and get this job done.
That is wonderful. Jim, let me ask you about the potential for a shutdown. A lot of worry that if we, in fact, see a government shutdown, that's going to throw a wrench into all of these plans.
Maria, it'll definitely slow us down. So we're hopeful that there is no government shutdown coming this week or anytime soon. We want to keep our workers on the job. We want to be able to pay them. We want to be able to have them keep producing these items that we really need as a country. Government shutdowns, continuing resolutions, late budgets, none of those are helpful. So if we can avoid a government shutdown, they can be very important for our defense.
And of course, you're walking this balance of ensuring that you are stepping up in terms of production. There you are right now at one of the productions in the U.S., but you're also talking with shareholders, ensuring that shareholders understand the balance here. So what do you tell shareholders in that regard?
Well, one framework is the agreement that we have on Patriot, and now even this morning, brand new, the THAAD system. What we've done for our shareholders is, first of all, we've got long-term commitments on these major programs for our company like we've never had before. That gives them a lot of confidence in the stability of our cash flows and our business going forward. So that's a huge plus. We're working on a number of other major programs, which I can't talk about quite yet today, but there should be more good news coming out on those long-duration contracts. Secondly, in those contracts and those agreements that we've struck so far with the department, we have the normal protections. If there's a change of the government strategy, if the budget changes, if the program is reduced or even canceled, we have make-whole provisions in these agreements that will compensate and protect our shareholders from any change in government policy down the road. And third, and really important, is there are escalation clauses in these long-term agreements, meaning we don't have to take inflation risk, nor do our investors, for the next 7 years. There'll be an index-driven inflation escalator that go along with these contracts. And fourth, and also very important, the U.S. government realizes that cash flow is important to investors and that we have to maintain a reasonable amount of cash flow for them. As a result, they've agreed to work with us on payment schedules and other cash management opportunities between government and industry to help us make sure that investors are cared for along the way of that contract. So all these benefits and protections are in these agreements. They took a little while to negotiate, I'll tell you, but we really landed in a great place. Deputy Secretary Feinberg has been personally involved in this, as have I and others. And we think we've got the right formula now to really change the defense industry for the better in a very big way over the next few years.
Jim, this is so exciting. A lot of positive things you've just mentioned. And I know that Lockheed Martin is poised to participate in a big way in the president's plans for the Golden Dome. So I want to take a short break and then come back with you to talk a little about the Golden Dome and your partnership with Salesforce and PG&E and Wells Fargo. We'll talk all about it when we come right back. Stay with us. We're talking with the CEO of Lockheed Martin. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and I'm back with the CEO of Lockheed Martin, Jim Taiclet, joining us. And Jim, I want to talk with you a little about the Golden Dome. The company is well positioned to partner with the government on many aspects of the Golden Dome. What are your expectations? And tell us your assessment of the president's plans to put a Golden Dome, and part of it could be on Greenland.
Well, Homeland Defense is now in the national security strategy the #1 mission. And many of us think it probably should be. You know, we want to protect the people and property of the United States first and foremost. And the Golden Dome program will enable us to, over some period of time, really strengthen our ability to protect the country. It starts with ballistic missile protection, which we will be building the next generation of defensive missiles against strategic ballistic missiles coming from literally the other side of the world. So we'll be participating in that already. That will be an integral part of Golden Dome, for example. Another piece of it is the kind of missiles you see behind us being built, Patriot missiles, THAAD missiles, et cetera. Again, will be an integral part of Golden Dome. And these products demonstrated their capability very, very plainly about 6 or so months ago after the successful U.S. attack on the Iranian nuclear facilities. The Iranians retaliated by sending a number of ballistic missiles downrange to attack our troops, our men and women that were stationed at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. All of those missiles were neutralized by Patriots, and one of them actually never got close enough to matter. So the Patriot missile system and those like it, made by companies like ours and some of our cohorts, protect U.S. lives. And in this particular case, you could speculate that that successful defense, where not a single American was lost, if it would have failed and a barracks or a hangar or a number of our American troops would have been hurt or killed, there might be a different situation in the Middle East right now. So our workers, we talk about this with them personally when we come visit these facilities. They're really proud of that, and they want to keep doing it for Golden Dome as well. So that's part of, again, what we will contribute. We're also extremely capable in radars and command and control systems. We just built amazing, massive radar in Alaska, turned it on last year. It can see the whole Pacific, all the way from Greenland down to Australia. So amazing technology we have on radars and command and control systems. And the last and maybe most interesting of all, we're putting a space-based interceptor in space on a prototype over the next couple of years. We're going to show that that can work with our space division. So we're going to play in all the elements and all the domains of Golden Dome. We expect to lead it. We're working with the administration and the department now to make sure that they know all of our capabilities, that we can contribute. There are other companies that are going to make great contributions too, and we want to be a big part of all that.
That is incredible. What a great story, Jim. I mean, look, a lot of people don't realize why space is so important. It's where our satellites are. The president told me last week that what's different this time around is that the technology that you're able to use and the technology that the U.S. has access to is state of the art. We've never seen anything like it. But, Jim, I want to ask you, have you ever seen the backdrop, as dangerous as it is today, in terms of national security for America, with what you're seeing from China, with what you're seeing from Russia, and, of course, Iran?
So, Maria, I'm an ex-Air Force pilot myself. The last time things were this unsettled was in the Gulf War, which I flew in. That was a long time ago. We've had very difficult missions to pursue in the meantime in Afghanistan and Iraq over the years. However, this seems to be the most unsettled geopolitical situation that I've ever been aware of since I started out in the Air Force in 1978. So I do think it's an unsettled time. It's important for the president to lead on the defense budget as he has. And it's important for industry like our company to step to it and make sure we can meet those needs.
Wonderful.
So it's a difficult and concerning time.
Jim, thank you for your service to this great nation, and thanks for your leadership. We appreciate you joining us this morning, sir. Thank you.
Great to be here, Maria. Thank you.
And we'll see you soon. Jim Taiclet is the CEO of Lockheed Martin. We'll be right back.